Let's start it up. Okay, well, let us roll. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, February 22nd, 2019. We're getting going with our monthly dealer webinar. We try and do one at the end of every month, but of course, it's been January. January was a little bit crazy, so I'm glad that we're getting one going. Oh, and we got a good morning here from Rick. Good morning, Rick, from up at Norquay. You guys can message into the program, and I think. Oh, Nipawin. Very big difference. There's probably a big rivalry between Norquay and Nipawin. I probably just offended him. Sorry, Rick. No, I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to ask any questions, you can either text me at 204-573-2069. I'm going to share my screen here shortly with the presentation, but we've got Dean and Doug here on video. So good morning, Dean and Doug. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good, thank you.
Good. So I'm just going to whip through some quick updates, and then we're going to get right into our super awesome chat with Dean and Doug about what they're doing to be super successful biosol dealers, having won the Bronze Award at the Trusted Applicator Summit. Congratulations, guys. But I'm just going to touch on a few quick things here. I need to share my keynote with everybody, which I'm going to do right now. I love this meme with the cowboy. I made that up myself. I saw that picture. I just loved it, and I thought of you guys because you're in the roping business, you're in the rodeo. So we're on Zoom for the first time. We know that because we all made it here. Text your questions 573-2069, or I'm sure there's different formulas in the platform for you guys to use to interact. So any interaction would be great. Make sure you send us your questions. Safety. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Of course, it's a core value with the trusted applicators. Just tell us a little bit, Dean and Doug, about what you guys are doing in your business with safety. I don't know if you have any specific stories about losing some fingers or something in the combine like my grandpa, but what are you guys doing for safety?
All my fingers, thank you.
You still play the piano?
Yeah, not much of a piano player. Our safety is like we're a small group, so our trusted applicators that run our machines are kind of on their own. So, following the PPE and, just the odd bit of advice and conversation on issues, it's pretty free flowing back and forth between us and the employees. So it
awesome.
Works well that way.
Good. Have you guys had any incidents or anything of concern, or has it all been pretty smooth?
Not really. So.
Yeah, all pretty smooth. It's the equipment, we keep it updated and fixed, and less chance of having issues with good equipment. It's not brand new stuff, so there's always that chance that something breaks and causes injury or something. But
I can't remember if it was Dean or Doug that was telling me that basically when there's a dangerous situation, you just sort of draw straws or figure out who's least important at the time to go into that dangerous situation. Like, who can we afford to lose?
Yeah, it's if it's only a 99% safe chance, then one of us does it. So that way the employees are always safe. It's probably not
you would never send an employee into a situation where they might die. Basically, that's where it's tough to delegate these potentially fatal situations.
Yeah, our main operator is a custom applicator as well throughout the year. He has his own custom spraying business, and he's been doing it for years and successfully. So he understands the need for safety and maintenance and stuff. So it's been good.
Good. Okay, well, we'll circle back on everything you guys are doing logistically, nuts and bolts in terms of your operation there. But just want to share a few more things about the general business. In terms of, January was crazy. We had a bunch of trade shows. We had a whole bunch of stuff going on. It was a lot of front stage stuff. And big event here for all of us was the Trusted Applicator Summit 2019. I wanted to give a big shout out to everybody that attended. And also, not only attended, but we got so much good feedback. And of course, we're looking at some new directions and some new things in neighborhood ag. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about the dealers. And, part of what we're tinkering with in the backstage is just how do we calibrate, provide you guys the most value, and just go deeper on what we've been doing in terms of building a tribe and a family, and you guys building businesses in conjunction with us. So we got a lot of positive feedback from the surveys. We appreciate it. We had 30 people fill out the surveys. And it was very candid information because it was going to Sierra, and Kathy, of course, never actually shared with me exactly all who said what, because it was advertised as and kept as sort of a confidential feedback. But the value was that we got a ton of really positive feedback, but some of the most positive feedback was what we could do different or better. And that meant a lot because we are going to double down on building the best dealer strategy in the world. And all our value is in our dealers. So we take your feedback seriously to heart, and we want to continue with that. So thanks for the attendance and the support at Trust Navigator Summit. It was a great event. Thanks to everybody that filled out the surveys and all the information. And I really believe we got some really great things coming directionally for the network, but we are never going to go in any direction that we don't have the support of enough dealers to make it viable. No, just to get down to a little bit of housekeeping here on business. Here's a price list in Saskatchewan, Western Manitoba, and Eastern Manitoba on the early order program until May. We are going to be working on dealer buys here in March and April. We are going to be pursuing that. So we want to have those discussions with you for those dealers that are pre-buying. Here's a price breakdown at 220 pounds. So we're going into March at $29 an acre in Saskatchewan and $31 in Manitoba. And the other thing that we're doing more of is starting to talk about, discuss, and get comfortable with the concept of lower rates. So I'm going to stop the share of the slides right there and circle back to my expert panelists. How are you guys finding the pricing program is working for you?
I think it works great for us. It works great for the customers. There's no guessing. Like you're not sitting there in January wondering if you should buy product or not and borrow money to do it. And customers like that. They know the fact that if they can't buy it in January, they know what the price is going to be in March. And that's been awesome for our guys. Summertime wise, you're going into July, you got the cheap price. They know it's only going to go up $5. Combine some grain in August and have some cash flow. And so guys are very excited over that versus say urea that changes $100 a ton overnight and causes, more stress or cash flow issues or something else, right?
Yep, I agree. Do you like the monthly program? One suggestion that we had was maybe changing things quarterly. So it's something we're going to explore. I don't know. It's been working for the most part, but
monthly hasn't been difficult for us to manage. And, when you keep those increments at that $5 level, it doesn't seem like much of an increase over month to month, right? Whereas you go quarterly, maybe it jumps to 25 or $40 a ton, then that's almost a sticking block in their head, even though it's exactly the same if you go up $5 a month sort of thing. But
that's the monthly thing, kind of pushes dealers, I think, to contact their customers monthly rather than, the guy's not going to buy till the next quarter, so why talk to him again kind of thing. So it's for me, I like the monthly thing just for that reason. You're a little more proactive in the summertime, contacting these guys saying, hey, price is going to go up again next month. Are you looking at buying, or can we lock down some acres, or what's happening? If I knew we didn't have to price his stuff till the end of August, you'd hear from us on the last 4 days of August.
Well, this is it. I mean, you've got a mini deadline every month. I kind of like that. And if you got somebody on the line, you can certainly do them a service by sending them a text or giving them a call saying, hey, the price is going up $5 is my theory. But you guys are practicing it in the field, so that's of interest to us for sure.
Well, guys are doing more budgeting, right, than they ever have. So we had a customer this fall want to know exactly what it was going to cost them in the various months, and we could give them a firm number. It wasn't well, we think it's going to hold. This is exactly what it was, and he decided when he was going to pull the trigger on purchasing. So.
That's a great point. I see it as a service that should allow producers to do their planning, and if they have the opportunity to buy earlier and they have the cash to do it and want to commit, they can get, like, I also see it as a bit of a loyalty program for all of our good long-term guys, guys like Marcel Van Staveren that were with us from the beginning, who hopefully will be starting to reapply the product again. Like, that's how far down the garden path he is. It's great to be able to notify him and make sure he gets his product at the best possible deal twice a year. And he takes advantage of that. He's able to make those decisions ahead of time, and very big on his number of acres, like 20,000 acres. You start saving $5, $10, $20 here and there. Like Christian Hebert will say, that adds up to making a damn good wage on the farm or not.
Yeah.
So, well, good feedback. I'm always curious. And we did get some feedback about going quarterly, and I thought that was an interesting concept, but we will continue to discuss that with the network. In terms of the down payments and financing and stuff like that for Biosol, our terms to the customer are 40% down initially and another 30% prior to delivery, and then we balance out the final payment with what was actually delivered after the fact. Basically, for when we're delivering direct to customers, that sulfur is gone. There's really no way to get it back. So we are looking for 70% down prior to delivery, and then we can, finish out the balance. We are always open to anything that would help make a deal if this becomes a constraint. We also have FCC and Scotiabank at our disposal, and we are working on some other long-term financing programs. But I wanted to ask you guys too, and of course, for dealers, there's opportunity to pre-buy product on slightly different terms, better than customers. But how you guys are now buying wholesale? You were commissioned before. As your volume goes up, you're moving to the wholesale system. How are you guys making out with the down payments? And have you had any interest in financing? Like, when we got FCC early in the game, we thought it would be a game changer, but there really hasn't been that much update. So how's that been working for you guys, or what's going on there?
I think we've only had one guy sign up on FCC, and it was just strictly a cash flow thing. I have positioned it to a few other guys that are, maybe a little tight on cash. If you ever do come up with that system that'll get them 3 years, I think everybody in the country would be using this product. I think
like a 3-year payment plan?
Yeah, that's the stigma that turns, say, 50% of the guys away, is the fact of having to put 5 years worth of money up front, especially after the last 2 years where we've run, 5 miles south of us has been basically a drought for 2 years. If they could spread that risk out over, and most of the guys we deal with, we don't worry about, because we know them. We've done business with them for a long time. We're not afraid to let it hang out there for 2 extra weeks if it needs to be, just for them to get some grain in and do some cash flow. But
well, the nice advantage that you guys have on the ground is that you know your customers, right? We've always depended on our dealers to know that when we were doing the invoicing. And there's obviously a level of trust. I think the incidence of uncollectible fees in agriculture in general is extraordinarily low in the community. I mean, if you don't pay your bills in ag, it's such a small fishbowl. You ain't gonna be exceeding. But are you guys looking at the 3-year rate at all?
Not at this time. We're concentrating on people to go the 5-year rate, just And the reason is because for us to go to the 3-year rate, we did a 3-year rate on our own farm that's never going to have canola. This parcel of land that we knew we wanted to do it. And we're testing that for the 3 years and the 4-year and the 5-year to see, does the sulfur, is it restricted to that 3 years, or are we going less sulfur over 5 years? I guess that's what we're trying to narrow down. I know Elston has some good information on that, but until we see it ourselves, I don't think we're going to push the 3-year thing, short of somebody, having a rental land that absolutely wants to use the product and is willing to accept, possibly losing that land in 3 years. Most guys are pretty open to the fact that, if you got 3 years left, you've already paid for the product by the 3rd year. Like you're ahead of the game. If you end up losing that land and giving up 2 years of sulfur, well, most guys are okay with that, I would say, because they've already covered off their costs of what it would have cost them originally, if that makes sense.
Is anybody talking to their landowners about these kinds of things, in terms of what to do if they don't get the land?
About 2 guys that I know of renegotiating land rents over this.
Cool.
And we're successful at it. And that's just people I know. Like, I don't know who else has done it or possibly said, hey, we're putting $40 an acre down on your land, and let's negotiate. If we don't re-sign a contract in 3 years, we'll, you owe me $10 an acre or something. I don't know if that's out there, but I'm sure someone's thought of it, right? So
the landowner must see it as a bit of an investment on the part of the renter that would, it certainly can't hurt the value of the land or the productivity of the land. It's got to be a pretty goodwill gesture.
Yeah, some will, but some are older and don't understand the product and the technology, so they probably don't see the value in it. It's probably mixed there.
We need to have a webinar for landowners. Renting to people that want to use biosol.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm in Palm Springs, so.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think we will move more towards the 3-year program, but to me, it's a little bit more off-label. We just have to be really transparent about our level of experience with it. And while in theory all things should work, I think a little bit more agronomy has to come in. And we really endorsed the 5-year program, and we basically ended up getting away with it working better than we ever thought it would. Like it like you guys say, I think you said your message to the group was Biosol's worked as good as you thought it would and better. It basically did exactly what you thought it was going to do, type thing.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of all we asked for, and we got away with it. Does the 3-year kind of guarantee a source of sulfur for any kind of monster crop that you can grow? If you grow canola 3 years in a row, we just don't have as much experience to endorse that. But at the end of the day, it is fertilizer, and if guys want to go off label, well, they're grown men and women to make their own decisions. But would an interest-free program in March or April or May or June for the fall from FCC or Scotiabank, like a waiver, would that be of interest to guys, do you think? Or is that like for 6 months to a year?
I don't think it's be a huge driver, because we've only had one guy even use the FCC program. So,
you might get a handful of guys that would go through the motions to sign up with FCC or somebody, just to be able to lock in that cheap price. And
you can do the math and realize, it's like being $100,000 cash or interest-free cash advance, right? Why not use somebody else's money? Some guys might do that, but I don't think it would be a huge driver.
Most of the guys that are using this product are not doing it based on credit, right? Like, it's a huge investment in your farm, and or that's what we see anyways, is most guys aren't borrowing money to do it. They're guys that are successful already and willing to spend that amount of money on their farm and not think twice about it. So where I don't think you're not after every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there trying to get them with some interest free. In my opinion, it's a different category compared to regular fertilizer.
I think you make a good point. I think there's people that get it, want it, can do it. I think it comes down to, do you have the cash flow? Are you willing to invest in your fertility? Do you think that way? Yeah, we can wave all kinds of incentives at people, but in general, they can either afford it or they can't, is my experience.
Well, and that's where your 40% up front is a key thing in the fertilizer industry, right? Like if somebody came to us and said, hey, we could buy our UAN and all we got to do is pay 40% till we use it, that's a pretty good deal. That's not the case. They come to us July 1st before we even know if we have a crop and say, here's your price, write me a check. Right? So that's another good reason why I think the guys that are in it are successful and willing to spend that money, and they know that they're not spending it all up front. You know, like we're not coming to them in June with a price and saying, hey, write me a check. It's you know, give us a commitment and we'll see you in the fall. So that's also worked very well.
You guys are coming from this perspective not only as farmers, but you've been retailers in the past. You worked at a retail in Rosetown.
That's correct, yeah.
That's good. I just want to mention, as usual, a few other things here. You can always check out the competitive comparison online. Do you guys price out with your customers often by the pound? Is that, or how do you guys approach when they say how much is it or what is it? When you start talking dollars, how do you guys approach that for maximum effectiveness?
Yeah, there's always that conversation because everybody's doing something different, whether it's they're using Tiger or they're using ammonium sulfate, and everybody's pounds are different too. You know, we have guys using 8 pounds of sulfur versus some using 25. So you have to do the math because it's so different for each guy. So we definitely go through that calculation with them.
So you talk by the pound, but you pricing it by the acre or by the ton?
By the acre, I would say mostly, showing a guy what he's spending over the 5-year term, and then what we're going to charge you versus the 5-year term, and how much are you getting versus what you're, you know, versus us versus the retail, right? So if you're looking at most average guys growing a canola year 1, canola year 4, and something in between there, they're about 65 actual pounds of sulfur. We're putting 154 down and charging them less money. And when guys see that, that's a big thing for them to be able to see it broke down that way. And
you have to go by the acre because 25 to 30% of the cost is application. You know, that $12 an acre that's a significant part of the cost. So that's why we end up talking dollars per acre at the end to tie it all together.
And 50% of the guys wouldn't be able to do the math to get them back from actual pounds of sulfur to something that they use on their farm, unfortunately. Like,
you think most producers are even aware exactly of their blends and what the cost per pound is every time they get a price on their canola blend from their retailer, for example?
Not at all. No. If there's 10%, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. Like, we've been trying to get ready for our grower meetings Monday and Tuesday and talking to probably 100 guys over the last 3 days. And you always discuss that cost of sulfur and what they're doing. And lots of guys say, I don't even know how much is in my blend, or I don't know what it's costing me. And so it's interesting, but that's the math written down on a piece of paper goes a long ways for these guys.
I think in general, nobody in the retail level probably talk, or maybe there are, I just not familiar. The status quo would be that in general, you don't talk cents per pound on your blends. And I think that represents an opportunity for education and providing value in the sales process, I think.
Well, and you're dealing with a commodity product. All farmers generally worry about is the price of NP, sometimes sulfur, but N and phos are the two key ones, right? That's what they check everybody against, and when we were in retail, we had elemental sulfur in our blends, and we weren't deficient, but it was helping keep the pounds down. It was keeping the price down, and competitors didn't price accordingly. It'd be apples and oranges, but the guys weren't deficient either, so we weren't afraid to put that in their blends at times. So.
I had a question here from Rick on the webinar here. Are you guys getting backlash from retailers and agronomists? And if so, how do you combat them? Like, do you use nunchucks, a sword, automated weapon?
I'd like to.
Smoke bomb?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Definitely.
We don't advocate violence.
They badmouth us lots, and the product lots. Probably more the product, I'm guessing. But
there's no way to compete against this product without fear of something, right? Like, we had a customer left our meeting before he even left our meeting last spring. He texted me. He said, "I want to do 1,400 acres." And we're like, right on. I talked to him the next day, get some information. Let's get the deposit done, and bang, I'm out. And I never, for the longest time, could figure out what had gone on. And I sent a message to Elston about this yesterday, but a retail had come in and told him that he was going to drop his pH on his land. And the guy just took it. He's done business with these guys for 20 years, and these guys have been his rock when it comes to agronomy and stuff. And he just took him at his word, and that was that. And so, a few other things that like to combat it. Yeah, going and seeing the farmer, and so he's coming back to our meeting this year. I've got Elson putting some stuff in about pH. It's stuff like that. And
that's where our demo program, and that's been the backbone of our business and how we've got where we are, is if you have somebody that's skeptical, if we can get him to do an 80-acre side-by-side demo, we can prove it to him in his own field. So, the tissue tests don't lie, the yields don't lie, and that's probably the biggest tool, because you can sit and argue against another agronomist all day. If you can prove to that guy in his own field, here's the numbers, then, we win.
Yeah.
In a conversation with one of our guys was phoning around about meetings and stuff, and he got a comment yesterday that, no, I'm not coming to the meeting because I will never use the product, or I don't believe in the product, or I can't exactly remember exactly what it was, but and I said, don't get discouraged, because I said I had two guys laugh at me the first year we did this, and them not fully understanding what the product was. And the one guy spread 1,700 acres last year, and the other guy spread 1,000. So it's 2 years down the road, and a demo here and a demo there was well worth the time to do it, and to combat anything against retail. They don't badmouth us much. It's more the product and what they can, you hear the thing heavy metals all the time, and you know what, you pull up on your phone and you go, here, look, and they're just like, they can't say anything. So yeah, it's interesting how the retails have tried to come up with stuff, right? Like, that's gonna put the product down and cause an issue. So
are they talking club root too?
Sorry, what was that?
Are they talking club root as well? Club root in your product? It's
starting to become more of an issue, I think, just because of the fear, fear of the unknown, really. We've kind of got that looked after. We have a machine to sanitize our equipment, and We did some acres at Lacadena last fall, and that was a big discussion with not only the farmer we did it, but he phoned a bunch of neighbors and had them come out and look at it, and a couple of agronomists. And, you know, they asked what our protocol was and how we're dealing with it. And we explained what we're doing, and, you know, that seemed to satisfy them, that we're actually doing something and had a plan in place before this club root here. So, you know, if it shows up, it won't be us spreading it, that's for sure.
Proactiveness is key.
Yeah.
You guys have been really proactive then. I guess what I'm getting from this is the solution is education and consistency, and it'll be really interesting on a long enough timeline, because these agronomists, this is their capital in being right and being informed for their customers. And if they dismiss something like Biosol and, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, it's still here and more people are using it. I mean, we've got close to 1 million acres that's going to be down in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. We're going to bust through that this spring and fall. I mean, if your capital is giving expert advice and being right, it's kind of interesting how some have come out really quickly against it and strongly against it. But I think maybe that might be softening, because they've got to recognize there's some danger in saying it's shit. And a lot of good producers, dealers, agronomists are using it with really good success.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, we worked in retail for 20 years at one location, and guys did business with us because they knew we farmed. They knew that we wouldn't tell you to do this on your own farm if we weren't doing it on ours. And that gained us a lot of respect. When we left the retail, we took a few things with us, and started a few new things, including dealing with Darrow on Lignajoule, and then through Darrow is how we ended up talking to Dan.
Right.
So there is a level of respect, but you know, at the same time, you got to have the product that they want and show them how it works, and that's I think key for the grower.
How are you guys managing your conversations with your customers? So you have roughly 3 products that you're focused on: Alpine, Lignajoule, and Biosol. How does that go at the kitchen table, having multiple products? They work together pretty good?
Our Alpine business is kind of matured. You know, we get maybe 1 or 2 new customers a year, but, you know, it's pretty much just maintaining that business. Lignajoule is probably even more of a struggle than Biosol, because it's hard to wrap your head around. So
yeah,
Biosol's been our focus the last 2 years for sure, since we've been in it. You know, the profitability from our business standpoint between the product and the application, that's where we spend the majority of our time, and so that's been our focus. You know, we will discuss, well, we have our grower meetings here Monday and Tuesday, and we're going to talk about club root, so we should be able to alleviate a bunch of those concerns. They'll get the straight goods from Canola Council, and then we can tell them how we're managing it.
Lloyd can discuss how you guys are managing.
Yes,
it, right?
Exactly. The pad isn't a source of infection and stuff like that. We'll talk about Alpine briefly. We'll talk about Lignajoule a bit, but the other key message will be Biosol. So we're just trying to wrap it all together there.
That is awesome. I think you guys have been really successful in part because of those meetings. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle, and that education component. One thing that we're kind of looking to do, and you guys are the inspiration, is we want to have a club root campaign very publicly to show that we're being proactive. I mean, we publicly stated that, you know, what we're doing exactly. It was really interesting. I got interviewed by Harvey, what's his nuts there, from Winkler. But anyways, at Ag Days, and he asked me, like, how do you, show people that this product is safe? And I'm like, huh? But I guess it's one of those common things where people are talking about, oh, there could be this or that in the compost, or, it's obviously an area of concern that even old Harvey, what's his name? Oh, can't remember his name. Anyways.
Who was it? Richardson or somebody was telling them that they could see the club root from a satellite image of
from Google Earth,
or And people, as stupid as it sounds, some people will believe that and pass that information on. And I ran into a friend of mine at crop production show in the beer gardens. He works for Horizon Fertilizer, and he's like, "Oh, I just tell my customers that you guys spread club root and have club root." You know, he's half joking, but he half wasn't. You know, they will be telling guys that. So we have to inform them accordingly and be proactive. So
Absolutely. So just to move on here, our time is limited. We talked about keeping these webinars a little bit shorter. I'm just going to show here a little bit about your equipment. And so we've got a couple different sets of wheels here, gentlemen. You've got the RBR, you've got the pull type, and you have another set of wheels. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So how come you have all these different configurations? Which ones do you like? Do they suit different situations? And you guys, are you just addicted to iron? You just want to have a collection, or what's the story?
he just likes to buy stuff. But,
confession time here.
There's more.
I get it. I mean, just like to buy stuff? Is that?
You know, the Vector probably was the unit that we thought was going to work best for us. Obviously, seeing a few other people like Carlisle and Hamner's running them, and looking through the stuff, and so we managed to get that one. I think we were buying it as we walked around Farm Progress Show, and brought it up to Saskatchewan, and it's worked well for us. So then, of course, there's always that worry at fall time is, can we cover the acres, right? And we knew this was, originally we started off with Gorbachev there from Hamner's, the little
yeah, that's cool.
And it was good, but you could see right away it wasn't going to cut it. Like, we needed acres covered, and that's why we went to the Vector. In the process, we sold the little case and went to bringing a John Deere box up out of the States and building a pull type one. We had some guys that had their own tractor. They wanted to do custom work with it. And it was a way for us to cover acres in other areas, that the Vector couldn't get over. And it gave us a little peace of mind as to the fact that we had a second machine. If something happened to the Vector, like it happened this fall, we were down for a month. Luckily, we only had 2 days left of the season. So once that happened, then we looked at different avenues like agri-spreads and getting a bigger agri-spread to cover more ground, and then a tractor, and so in the end, by the time we were figuring out cost per acre and what the machine was going to be, we kind of just opted to go to the Rogator, and the main reasoning on that was service. Like, we're not John Deere people, and I considered buying a John Deere, and that was just, I know that look, Dan.
I just trying to process this. I had like a little bit of blue screen there. I'm like,
yeah,
you aren't John Deere people.
So it was, to go to this machine was kind of, we'll see what it's like, and if we can cover the ground with it. The Vector's great, but Carlisle's great, but they're still 10 hours away from us.
Yeah.
And they offered, come get our machine, go through it, do whatever we needed. That's great. But in season, something goes down, I got to have somebody in the field.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of peace of mind that way to be able to try this new machine out and see if it works good for us.
Logistics of moving the machines around is a big thing too. We've got a sprayer trailer essentially with cradles. We can, there it is there, load our Zoom boom, because that's how we load all the product. We don't do virtually very little with conveyor and move all, or live bottom, but so we can use the same unit to move both machines, and simplifies things. We have tractor and pull type unit, and we have another trailer, but then that's another person and
another truck on the road.
Yeah.
You guys are not tendering out of a central location usually, hey?
That's right.
The pull type unit was kind of also, the idea is that a few guys, if you didn't like the $12 an acre, here's $8. Hook it to your own tractor. Let's get you pan tested and set up, and the cameras are there, the rate controller's there. It's ISO to any tractor. Farmers, unfortunately, lots of them think that their time and their fuel is worth nothing. So for $4 an acre, they thought they've done quite well, right? So, and we did have some guys do that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It worked great, and yeah.
I've always wondered about the rental thing.
Yeah, that's how we'd originally started. We thought we were going to do that, and then after rethinking and talking to Hamners, definitely we went for the custom route of it. Since then, we've had quite a few guys buy their own spreaders, which is great. It allows us to focus our iron on more guys out there. So, along with helping those guys get set up, like pan testing, and Lloyd's been a great help with that. Being able to go out to new customers and help them get set up. So that's kind of where all our iron ends up here, there.
Well, you guys are traveling, working over pretty large area here. I can put the map up. So you guys all share this with the group free of charge, but you guys are at Bursay, Saskatchewan. You guys covered quite a bit of areas, so the mobility of the units is a big deal, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
How far are you going?
I think Creek, I guess, is where we start spreading over there with one machine. Davidson area.
Probably a 90-mile radius of us.
Yeah.
Essentially.
90 miles, eh?
Yeah.
I think
Lacatina to north of Rosetown, up to Harris. We did some at Delisle with some guys up there last year. So
why are you traveling so far?
Because we can. We're set up to be able to move easily.
Yeah, it's not that hard to move. So that's why if you're trying to move tractors and old spreaders, you probably wouldn't do as much of that.
No, like you're not going to drive a tractor 100 miles, right?
No.
But I'll load stuff on a semi and I'll be there in an hour and a half. And Graham has been a awesome fit for your guys' business, being able to coordinate the shit show that we send him.
Yeah.
He's always on top of where the trucks are and how we can get this to there and that to there and keep everybody happy, because unfortunately we've had 3-4 guys spreading all at the same time and trying to coordinate trucks to go wherever. It's impressive that he can keep track of all of it. So
I think what you guys are doing is logistically more challenging, but it's probably more profitable and gives you the ability to go over larger areas. Is that fair to say?
I guess our big difference here is that we worked in a retail in Rosetown and Milden. So we know all them guys. We've done business with them for years. So that's a big area, yet we farm at Bursay and know these guys as well. And so that's, I think, how we ended up covering such a big area. And the Davidson Crake thing is just through another Eberhard dealer that we got involved with.
Able to cover those acres for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
As
were.
our business continues to grow, we hope to be able to not have to go as far, but
Yeah.
right now we can do it, so we will.
Yeah, I think that collaboration from our point of view has been working pretty well to help other dealers succeed when they don't have the investment in iron or they're just getting started.
Yeah.
And how is the pan testing working out for you guys? Is that a big part of what you guys are promoting to customers, and what widths are you doing, and yada, yada, yada?
Pan testing is pretty good. We err on the side of caution. Like, we'll pan test to 72 feet and still dial it back to 60. It's peace of mind for us and for the customer. Guys are happy with that. The fact that we're consistent is another key thing for the customer. People look at the product and go, how can you spread that? And it's not that hard. Like, it's the only thing I'd like to do a little more investigating on, and I'm trying to do it probably not this spring because I'll be too busy, but in the fall will be the moisture content of the product, and can we adapt our machines to be able to easily change spread pattern based off of the moisture of the product. Like, I want to know if this stuff is testing 12% moisture, I know I'm at 60 feet. If it's 18 to 20% moisture, I'm at 72 feet. And can we correlate? That's basically what would change our spread pattern, would be the moisture of that product. So
Interesting. And just to dive a little bit into some of the demoing and the trials that you guys have done, and you've got tissue tests with your customers, how are you guys utilizing that to be successful?
We just use it as a exposure tool initially, I guess, to get into some areas where guys haven't seen it, they haven't seen the product, they haven't seen how we apply it. So we'll do a demo for a specific grower and get a bunch of neighbors out there if we can, tissue test throughout the year, and show them on their own soil that here's the numbers, and your sulfur levels are good. Virtually every tissue test, we've seen all the other nutrient levels higher as well, which Elston talks about in his presentation. They don't necessarily have a reason or can pinpoint it, but regardless, if you've got higher levels of every other nutrient in your tissue tests, then stands to reason it's going to benefit the crops. So we don't promote it as a yield increase or yield benefit. We've seen it in a few instances, but that's more a case where the guy was just severely deficient in sulfur in his program, and we're fixing that. So
yeah,
and that's been the key. Just prove it to them on their own farm, and some neighbors get seeing it, and even if they aren't there on the day we do it, they're like, what were you doing out there? What was that pile of shit in the corner of the field?
What's with all the rotten grain on the side of the road?
Yeah, so it gets guys talking anyways, and we just go from there.
Yeah, so just to clarify for the attendees, you guys have gone in and done demos for key influencers in areas, and then brought others in the community along. Like, how many demos would you guys have done of that nature?
I would suspect there's a few, I guess, where we call demos. Probably we've done 15, where we load up 60 to 80 acres and go to the farmer's place and spread it out, flag it, tissue test it, show them the differences. Some of the guys work pretty well with us. Like, they're willing to go to town to get different fertilizer for that 60 acres, putting straight nitrogen. Some guys say they will, but don't.
Right.
But what's cool about it is, we get a test over at Elrose side by side. Biosol is just kicking the shit out of his own fertilizer, right? And I said, can I use this in a newspaper ad? Well, yeah, but my guys were supposed to take fertilizer out of the drill, and they didn't. So they seeded right over the biosol with their same, and a good, respectable farmer with good fertility practices, putting 25 actual pounds of sulfur down. And so I said, okay, well, that's fine. We just won't use it. It's pretty cool information. We'll see the different levels of everything else. And was impressed. And he phones me in the fall, and he says, we had, a group come out, and they were doing some weigh wagon testing and blah, blah, blah. And just about 5 bushel acre difference on the biosol. And you're like, first of all, we shouldn't see anything, because you're great to begin with in your fertility program. We're just trying to figure out how to get the sulfur out of the drill, and less trouble, more acres per fill. And in the end, that 76 acres turned into 1,500 this fall. And I think out of all of our demos that we've done, whether it's 80 acres or a customer taking a truckload and saying, hey, I'll do 300 acres or I'll do 400 acres or whatever, all the exception of one where we had a retail company screw up the amount of N that was supposed to be put down on top of it, have turned into from 400 acres to 1,600 to 2,000 to whatever, right? Like there's not one guy out there that hasn't come back and said, I want to do more. And when you get guys like that, all of a sudden going from 80 acres to 1,500, people in the community look, and that's great. We do some rink auction donation stuff that's also been great. You not only get the information and the product out there on somebody's farm that you don't deal with, you figure out the 5 or 6 other guys that were bidding on the product and say, let's go talk to them. So it's been, it's a big expense, great for the communities, but it's also been a selling tool for us over the couple of years.
How much have you?
Sorry, what was that?
How much have you invested in that program?
Well, on the standard demo, the grower pays for the product and we do all the application.
So you're throwing in the application on these cases and they're paying for the product?
On the rink auctions, we're donating 80 to 100 acres of product and application. So, well, after this year, we'll have probably spent 25,000 at least on those sorts of events. So,
wow.
But we've seen the value. So,
yeah,
and it gets our name out in the community too. People know Doug and Dean Erickson, or they may not know who Greenleaf is, and they may not know who Aberhart is and what Biosol is. So it's just one more avenue to get it out there. So
awesome. Well, I wanted to keep it under an hour. We got lots of great information out of you guys. I'm sure that people that have been in the business a while would be really interested in how you're going about it, and people that are new. Sue, I just wanted to put out to the group, if you do have a question, ask us in the next 6 minutes, or wherever you lose your opportunity today. What would you guys say to people that have been in the business for a while and maybe it isn't firing exactly like they wanted, or B, they're new in the business and they're just getting out there and realizing, hey, this is going to take more work and sales and education than I thought. It's like selling cheap fertilizers and a slam dunk at every kitchen table. What would you guys coach? Because I know you're even doing some coaching and mentoring to other people just getting into the business, which is awesome. What would you say to people that are having challenges, whether they've been in it for a while or just new?
I guess try to identify what that main objection to the customer is. Is it that they don't understand elemental sulfur, because that's some of the guys, or is it that they object to $42 an acre investment over the 5 years? You just got to know what that big objection is, and then look and see how you can deal with it, and explain that value. And honestly, without our demo program, our sales would not be where they are. That's been hands down the key. We could do newspaper ads and tons of other shit, and it would have, well, we look at our grower meetings here, we advertise, we did mail outs, you phone guys, do you see our ad? Nope. So we had to phone, we've talked to over 100 guys and probably 130 guys in the last couple of days. And, it's talking directly to them and finding out what the hot button is, I guess, with them. So, and sometimes undoing what the retail's told them to.
Yeah.
It's
back to what the retail says, about the product and that's what I always find funny at the Trusted Applicator meeting. We heard a lot of information on spreading nitrogen, and some really good information on spreading nitrogen. And yet the same agronomists that'll badmouth us will have their floater going till the middle of December on a foot of snow. And that's a big hot button for me, I guess, to make, to make those same decisions. That person's doing that decision on your farm, but yet telling you our products this or that or whatever, right? So I guess it's interesting how everybody thinks differently, but
I think that's got to change. I think it's gonna. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think in agriculture, the days of indiscriminately applying inputs, whatever it is coming to a close for a bunch of reasons, and it's going to be exciting time. It's going to be a big opportunity too, because anyways, that's a really long conversation. Probably half a bottle of rum.
not today.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up on that note. But yeah, you guys have done a great job, and what I can see is that it's maybe not that just one specific thing that's making all the difference. You know, you pointed out the demos, but when you look at what you guys are doing in terms of the sales, the spreading, the agronomy, the logistics, the quality of your application, you know, these meetings that you're doing, the educational component, you got somebody come to speak about Clubroot. That's huge. You know, the respect that you guys have garnered in the industry over the years, the fact that you farm. It's a great combination of things that you guys are doing. But specifically, I do think, yeah, the demoing is a good investment you guys are making that other applicators could look at and work towards. So I didn't have any other questions, I don't think, at this time. And I think we'll wrap it up so that we can keep these things under an hour, and hopefully people will watch the recording. We had great attendance today. I really appreciate that on behalf of the network. So thanks, guys, for all your efforts. It's amazing to be in business with guys like yourself doing a great job, and I appreciate it. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think, you know, you guys are the kind of guys that are really open to helping people succeed. And if anybody wants to get a hold of Doug and Dean, I'm sure if you have any questions about equipment or the agronomy side or the sales side, I'm sure you guys are more than willing to help people in the network, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with somebody phoning me questions about equipment or any part of it. I think that's a pretty good indication. Like when we got into this, I was on the phone with Matt Gosling. I've talked to Carlisle, Adam, and everything. It's just, you got a question, you know, you got to put it out there and be able to have some guys in the same situation that maybe have the answer that isn't going to take you 4 hours to figure out. It might take you 4 minutes. So it's, yeah, absolutely, phones always on. So
perfect. And with that, I think we'll wrap things up. I really appreciate you guys coming on this morning, and good luck with your meeting next week. I'll be in Jamaica, basically handling the rum and the lobster section. And so we did have a request here. Can I get customers' phone as well? Maybe I'll just get you guys.
on our website.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. Go to Aberhard Ag Solutions and go to Trusted Applicators. Yeah, he's good with that. And Dean and Doug are on the Trusted Applicators page. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All your efforts mean a lot, and it's been fun growing the business with you. So have a great week, and I'll talk to everybody when I get back from Jamaica. And March and April, we're going to be going extra freaking hard on moving some tons of biosolids. It's going to be really good. So thanks, guys.
Perfect. Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you. Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. You did a great job. We'll talk to you again. I've got some good feedback here. Great job, Dean and Doug. Sounds like you guys are doing pretty awesome things to grow your business. That's from Jenica Grant. So very cool. Good job, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye for now.